If you don't know what actor-based reality refers to, see my video number 6, We Live in an Actor-Based Reality. It acts as an introduction. Roughly this video is popes. Video 11 next is Protestant leaders, like the US mega preachers and the Queen. They're only about Christianity. We are told that they burnt each other for a very long period of time, but don't believe it. It's false opposition. It's in the mind. They're not real wars. Like everything else, it's a false dichotomy, a play or pantomime. And then today we finally have the coming together of all so-called Christianity, synthesis. And it's always been played by actors. And in this video and number 11, we shall see the current ones. And then at the end of this video, 10, a little warning about a little psyop performed by many actor-based reality YouTube sites. I see that there's a 9 here. That can be an upside down 6. So there could well be 2 other 6s hidden. Yes, they are that pathetic, and there'll probably be other weird things going on. Okay, forensic proof. Pope Francis is Jonathan Pryce. I will say it like that in both videos for simplicity, so I'll say it properly once. The actor behind Pope Francis is the same actor that is behind the actor Jonathan Pryce. Of course, an asleep NPC says they look nothing alike. Well done, that's the idea. It wouldn't work if they looked the same. So we've got to suppress emotion and use cold logic. Now we'll see this guy's philtrum. It's not straight. He's got a very unique face with unusual things. And this guy's philtrum also at an angle. And he's got a rash or some disturbance here. And you can just see it here past the makeup as well. What they do first is he'll get up. They have 2 makeup artists that they'll just cover him in foundation. It covers everything, covers all these spots, and then they can put new spots on it. Now, I should say the research I did on this was a year ago. So all the photos I looked at was a year ago. I haven't gone back. You don't go back to these things. It's so time-consuming. I think they will be there. I think they don't change. There's no need to change these photos. They do change photos if one character, right, this is a character, is played by 2 or more actors in his life. And there are many characters in which that is the case. Then they change the photos. I think Paul McCartney was changed in '66. That may be the best well known, but no, they've done it. They do it all the time. We've had 2 distinct Bill Clintons and at least 4 Hillarys, and they did change the photos there. Yes, it's the internet now. You might think it's harder, but it's not. It's we can use the internet, but the photos and so on that are you find on Google search, they all come from quite large organisations. No independence or freedom there. So, and because this is the odd thing I found, is that they'd have different philtrums and I mean, obviously that's suspicious. Why does a man change his philtrum? You would get this going down. You would get this going down the normal way. Sometimes less. Pryce is more often happy to be with his natural philtrum, but I guess if he's in a film, the director might say, right, let's sort this out. This they did the most odd things with. I guess it's because the one they make up every day, isn't it? And I saw a photo with 2 very thin philtrums, very odd. I don't know if they're just messing about, having fun. But the fact that it did change quite a bit is obviously suspicious. But then you've just got to look for the right photos. And here you've got a photo where they're the same, that they're angled, and I believe it's the natural philtrum. Now I mentioned the rash, didn't I, which is here. The lips, they give men lipstick, but it's not bright red, of course, it's lip coloured. And this is a trick they do. They either paint over the natural lip line or under it. In this case, to make them wider than Pryce. They've painted over the natural lip line in lip colour. But we'll see a photo later on a bit where they don't. So they do this. They do make mistakes. Well, mistakes or disclosure. You'll see the Pope with lips exactly like this. So I don't know. Maybe he was in a rush in the morning, and they didn't have time to paint his lips. The ears are the same. People will say, well, detached lobe, attached lobe, and yes, they always do that. They'll have one of one and one of the other, and they do other things to the ears as well. But these are the same ears. Ears are very distinct. They often, with one of the characters, in this case Pope, they'll just wedge something putty and make the ears stick out, and then paint it with the foundation, so everything comes out the same colour. But the ears, they usually give away because they don't change the whole ear. They add prosthetics here and there, but little prosthetics to the ear, to the nose. They do latex stippling on the face. This is the same chin. You've got a hollow here and a hollow here. There is something in the eyes. I forget what it was. Is this one left one looking more down and the right one looking more up? I can't remember. I have made the point before that the eyes are the windows to the soul, and the most important change they make is to put coloured contact lenses on the people, because it blocks out the eye, blocks out the soul, blocks out the essence of the person. And here they put, of course, really dark coloured. Actually, you can see the lens there because it's reflecting light, whereas the white of the eye isn't, so you can see the edge of the contact lens. And they make this guy squint a lot as well, which also made me suspicious. They always change the eyebrows and the hair as well. And they tell them to do some sort of cultural things, like this guy's always a mess. He's often, with the hair, and he's often unshaven, whereas this guy's always very trim and proper. Okay, what do you think of this? I couldn't get Pryce's to be a perfect profile. Look at the angle of the forehead and the length of the two sides. This is very unique, and you won't find this on anybody else. And a bit about the sample size, the participant sample size. It's not the world as used in police forensics. If a police have a match, it could be a match with anybody in the world, and they can take it to court. Our sample size is just the really famous, in the West, as Hollywood stars and world leaders. It's only a few hundred people. If an oddity is found in two in inverted commas people of that tiny sample size, it's the same person. Now they say, well, everybody has a doppelganger in the world. Firstly, that's rubbish. But secondly, it's not the world. It's a few hundred people. I like this, but I didn't do it, and I've forgotten where I got it from. And under video 6, I list about 10 or 8 sites of active-based reality, and I sort of recommend them. They all have something on Pryce Pope. They don't analyse it. They don't even have something as good as this, but they just sort of show the photos side by side. But this guy did put this together, which is quite good. But anyway, they tell us, okay, so we got to do some work. We can look these things up for ourselves. But the ones I recommended under video 6 are good. They're kind of almost always right, because there are some sites that are pure shill, pure psyop, and they say that this guy is this guy, and everyone they say is wrong. Well, obviously I didn't bother listing those in the description. So here we have the devil horns. This is not I love you. This is a satanic salute. Video number 1 I did is much shorter than this video. It's all about devil, Masonic, occult signs. So check that out if you don't know about these signs. There's a triad. Another triad. And there he's back with that cardinal doing his satanic salute again. Some of these shots are from that video, which I link to in 6. I'll link it again. The Good, the Bad and the Ecstasy of Gold. I recognise this title. So this is the hidden hand, and the hidden hand again. And he's travelling on the underground to show he's a man of the people. I actually passed him in North London once on the pavement. There's nobody else around, in his Jonathan Pryce character. Because he lived there, and I used to pass his house from the tube every time I visited somebody in North London. It was a mansion. It went directly onto the pavement, which is the case in London especially, I think. Well, not usually with huge houses, but of course it went back a long way, and it would have had a swimming pool and all the rest of it. It's tennis courts. And his door knocker was a brass arm that you lifted it up and then knocked a hand down. Well, he's got a sense of humour. He'll also have a house in Hollywood, I'm sure. And of course he has his luxury apartments in the Vatican. Just going to play a bit of him speaking Italian. I just want to catch him doing his final sign. I'm going to talk more about him speaking Spanish. He's supposed to be Argentinian.
Tanto mi dicono Don Marco, ma può Dio indurci nella tentazione?
E questa è una traduzione non buona.
He's a very good
Anche
actor.
I francesi hanno cambiato adesso il testo con una traduzione.
Oh, there we go, the 666. If I ever forget to flip down to see the channel provider, I'm listing all of these. Everywhere I go, I list in the description below the video. I want to make a lot of points about language. Let's see the USA, his visit to the USA. 2016,
While
15.
in Washington, a 5-year-old girl whose parents faced deportation broke through security to meet Pope Francis. She handed him a t-shirt and a letter expressing hope that people like her parents can remain in the United States. Like his speech to Congress, the Pope covered a wide range of issues when he addressed the UN General Assembly. Like his speech to Congress, she handed him a t-shirt and a letter.
Okay, a couple of points here.
Expressing hope that people like her.
Oh, for God's sake. Oops, sorry.
Expressing hope.
Okay. Well, I seem to remember. I remember the two popes before him, and they always have a girl who breaks through security. So, this is the first point. In these people's lives, nothing is ever spontaneous. He'll never have somebody go and chat to him because nobody can come up to them. And I'll explain why later. So he's never going to get anything by surprise. And if that does happen, they just don't show it on TV. What they say is live isn't live. And when they're in their buildings, like the White House or the United States, these are film sets, and everything can be cut and shot again. Right, what's next? Yeah, his speech. Real speakers in their real voice, he's too perfect. Then real speakers are not so clear or enunciated. He was taking his time. Now, the Pope isn't a very good one to show this. There are some other fake people who are just so perfect. But especially when they speak to their own kind. There's also the case of the not natural voice. That's a different thing. The sort of whether it's from the mouth, it's from high. And Alex Jones, Prince Charles, from an early age, from his 18, and Boris Johnson, it's all a bit of pompous, a bit. They're trying to push out a voice. But the thing with the Pope is it's care, it's over care to pronunciate, to enunciate every word very carefully. And I've got somebody who brought this home to me. This guy is a Glaswegian comedian, and it's not his real voice. That's why I know he's got to be somebody else. Because when you hear him in front of a Glasgow audience, his Glasgow accent is perfect, but it's too perfect. He doesn't slur and he doesn't go too quickly, and it's just too perfect. And this guy's actually, I think his natural voice is the voice of John Cleese, because that's who it is. I don't know, sometimes I don't. This younger one, it might have been a different actor when he was young, but if you suit glasses, I can see John Cleese coming through very, very clearly. He's obviously a brilliant actor because everybody thinks this is a Glaswegian Billy Connolly. Billy Connolly's woman is or was, I don't know if the guy is still alive, in the pantomime. And John Cleese was very close to her, not surprisingly, is it, and worked with her. Well, we know why now. And I got this from just a comment on xdisciple.com. I have linked that. I'll link it again, the website. And the comments are sometimes very informative. And it was on an article talking about John Cleese being a former Spanish prime minister, which he was. But that was a hard one. They made effort on that one. This I'm afraid I find this ridiculously easy. And I'm sorry for you if you don't. I think it's the one with glasses mainly. I just find John Cleese, this one, just coming through loud and clear. Oh yes, a bit about the UN. Yes, a bit about if he gives a talk. We saw him giving a talk at the UN, and he makes a mistake. The director will say cut, and then he'll say take two. Pope giving address to UN. It's a film script. There may be hundreds of people in the hall, and that's why people can't comprehend this. It'd be easier for me to demonstrate this talking about the White House, maybe. But this is their building. This is their Canaanite building, and they've put all these homages to Satan all over it. And we're just going to look at one now. And it's a film set. It's not live. Nothing's really live. And even if the delay is short, there's always somebody with a kill switch that can just, in every TV studio, that can cut all broadcast. So if he slips into his English accent, they'd cut and take it again. I don't think he does. I think he's quite professional. This is their meditation room. And now, even when I was asleep, I don't think I'd want to... This is the black cube of Satan, by the way. And this is some hideous thing, monstrosity, in the light of Satan. That's... And they do ornament their buildings with all this satanic rubbish. Pope Benedict, I think it was. And there he is doing the double devil horns. Ratzinger. They like playing with their names, don't they? No, don't be afraid, little children. This is God's representative on earth. Evil Santa. And he's back with the devil horns. And here he is with a hideous blotched red face and rotten teeth and horns. What's this? Is this? Anyway, whoever it is has got horns on. Mary. And this is Mary with little horns here. I think they're having a laugh with this guy. They're saying, let's make this guy so demonic. Will the stupid God worship him? And yes we do. Alas. So who is he? He's American actor Robert Blake. And what does he do? He goes a bit about the history of these characters. This will be linked to, of course. You little rascal. Yeah, he is a little rascal. The comments are interesting. Oh, we're going to do this one next. Pope John Paul. Oh, the handwriting. Yeah, this is a good one because they always slip up. I mean, I'm sure they could get it right. They can't spend all their lives doing it. They change the handwriting, of course, but there's always a couple of letters that they just... And I can see the J on this one. This is Ratzinger, and you see it doesn't come straight down. It goes up a bit. See, there's a hook there. It goes up a bit, and look at the loop. And this is Robert Blake, and it's the same J. It goes up and then a loop. And there he's dressed as a pope with his upside down cross, and he got his wish, didn't he, to become a pope. Let's look at some of the comments. This is 2012. These two pairs of ears are completely and utterly different. He's a clueless bastard. They're the same ears, but obviously they're going to make them. They usually put about 3 or 4. Well, not that many. Sometimes just 1 or 2, but often they put 3 or 4 different little prosthetics all over the ear. They are the same ears. You've got to look at a lot of ears to understand this. Not everything, but everything official. Okay, well, this guy knows. By the way, I compared the ears. It's 100% matched. Right, this is the one I wanted to show. This one here, right? And it's about logistics. He knows Blake, and Blake can't just be jetting off to Rome all the time. He knows where Blake lives in America. Well, there are 2 points here. We'll see where they shoot a lot of this. And it is LA. It's Hollywood land. So the first thing is, when they say they're so-and-so, they're not necessarily. Of course, when the Pope comes out onto the balcony at the Vatican, well, that's a location shoot. But most of the rest of it is shot in LA, and I think they have studios which are replicas of parliaments, the important parliaments of the world, and so on. And definitely when there are meetings in a big room, let's say the G7 are meeting in Ottawa, well, they might show some outside shots of just Ottawa's skyline or whatever, police cars, guarding a building. And then when they go to the big room, that where you see the G7 leaders, that doesn't have to be Ottawa, and in most cases it isn't. That's the first thing. Well, actually, the second thing I'm going to bring up when we go to the next Pope, why the logistics don't matter, are easy to fix. And here is Lookout Mountain in Laurel Canyon, LA. And they've sold this now. But this is now in the mainstream, the information about this. The government used to film propaganda here. And there have been some books on this. And they've sold it to Jared Leto, who's some star, and probably turned it into a huge mansion. And they had film studios here. And people used to, Hollywood actors used to, it's in LA, it's next to Hollywood. Hollywood actors used to play the roles in some of their films or voiceovers. And of course, they're in LA, so all the film technicians are on tap. So why did they sell this? Well, they sold this so they don't lie anymore. No, I don't think so. They sold this obviously to move somewhere 10 times bigger. But that's a bit of the equation they haven't told us, but I'm sure that's what they did. There's a lot written about this. There's some quite open stuff. Oh, this is, it was a lie factory. I mean, Hollywood is the sort of la la land, the land of dreams, and they create fantasy for us. But this bit of LA, they also create fantasy, but they pretend it's reality. They made loads of propaganda films, which don't come under the heading United States government propaganda. Obviously, there'll be a news report by, I won't mention the company because it could be any company, but they'll be fed into the system, obviously as with a disguise. This is the BBC, it won't be the BBC, the American, but this is the BBC article on, and it'll be from this place. That happens all the time, and it's what you watch. If you watch TV, that's what you're watching. It's not like the news companies are independent or free anyway. Obviously not. But a lot of their stuff comes centrally. Now, this film, I guess it was made when Ratzinger was Pope. So Anthony Hopkins plays Ratzinger. And Jonathan Pryce plays the up-and-coming Pope in waiting, Francis. They didn't make Pryce look like Francis. They made Jonathan Pryce look like Jonathan Pryce. Would have been a bit awkward otherwise, wouldn't it? It would have been a bit of a giveaway, confused people. But this is disclosure. This is disclosure to us. It's a sort of hint, a clue. It's also a bit of mockery. They're putting in our face. I guess if we work it out, we're not being mocked. Well, the games they play, I mean, it turns back on themselves, and it's so idiotic. I haven't seen this film. It must be a lot of garbage, because these popes were not real people. They were puppets. They were actors. And this is about the film. And it says, this two popes actor, him, reveals the secret to playing Pope. Well, I couldn't click on this. It was copyright blocked in my country. But anyway, we know it's rubbish, the article. because we know the real secret to him playing Pope Francis II, and I'm sure they're not going to discuss that in their article. I don't think Anthony Hopkins looks much like Ratzinger. They should have got they could have got Robert Blake to play him. And this is like the photo I gave you at first. I could get forensic proof from this. It's like, are they risking? Are they? No, they're not. They're not, are they? Who knows? Who can I tell? The Times? How many people know about him? What percentage of the world's population? Well, it's obviously a lot less than one, isn't it? But this is just seems a bit close to them. Okay, the final Pope we're doing, the Pope before Ratzinger, Pope John, Pope St. John Paul II. And here we see him doing the double 666 mark of the beast combined with the Eye of Horus. So he's totally showing his allegiance here. No mistaking that. And he was Tom Landry. He was a football coach, head, I think in Britain we'd say the manager. One of the most famous Hail Mary passes. You see, they use that term. See, a bit of Catholicism there. And what's interesting here, he was called cynically Pope Landry by some of his players. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Landry, is it? It might be Landry. And check out this. A security firm, they still exist, which boasts of having both Landry and Pope John as their clients. What a coincidence, yeah. That's not so much of a coincidence now we know, is it? Okay, yeah, this is the second thing I wanted to bring up about logistics. Yeah, how can he go to Rome if he's a football coach? And the logistics. First of all, the people. If he's not on giving interviews, and you just see him in the crowd in the distance, it may not be him. But the main thing I want to point is that the Football League in the United States, whatever they call it, and the Vatican in Rome, and all the TV companies that would either interview Tom Landry or the Pope, they're all under the same government, under the same control. And that's a lot for people to comprehend, but ultimately that's the case. And so the logistics is not a problem. Something else. Here's another disclosure, I think. Is, you know, they're telling us with that security firm. But why would they want security, extra security in the pantomime anyway? Well, Pope John Paul II had assassination attempts on him. There's an article all about it, of course, where they all... It's just rubbish. It's all sort of fantasy. It's fiction. We don't have to go to that article because they tell us enough here. All these different theories about who the guy was and who was trying to kill him, but I just wanted to come down to this when a second attempt was made. Okay, so he's had multiple attempts. And now we go to Tom Landry and somebody who had mental problems with a rifle which he intended to shoot head coach Tom Landry. This is an article, Vice Magazine, about how dangerous sports are, because everybody's trying to kill you. So they took him in half-time to the change rooms and gave him an anti-ballistics vest that they had lying around, just coincidentally, very lucky for him. But this is the thing I want to concentrate on. Security told players about the threat and requested that they move back and forth behind him in an effort to lower the possibility that the threat could be carried out. In other words, take a bullet for Landry. Now, sometimes they go over the top and they write just absolute nonsense, but people lap it up. But can you imagine going to work and the FBI tell you, well, you know, your boss is in his office now and we think somebody's going to try and shoot him through his window. So we'd like you to walk up and down in front of the window just to, you know, take a bullet. I mean, it's just nonsense. It's just absolute nonsense. Now, video 11 I'll be criticising Protestants. So I'm going to be fair with my criticism. The Catholic Church has actually changed the Ten Commandments and wrote their own. It's quite extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, talk of blasphemy. Because the commandments say not to worship idols or graven images, and the Catholics just can't stop doing that. The Bible says not to call anybody father except God, so the Catholics called their priests father. The Bible says not to wear long robes. The Bible says to pray in private. That's the idea of the closet. It's not supposed to be a confession box with some pedo. And there are a million more. And there have been hundreds of books about this from Martin Luther's day and beyond and before. A readable one is the Antichrist Conspiracy, written in 2010 by Edward Hendry, which I can download PDF. I found it without much trouble. But to be fair, I will defend the Catholics now. Because they built a telescope and called it Lucifer. People complained and thought, what on earth? Well, look, they didn't know it was Lucifer. They meant it to. You see, it was completely innocent. You see, it stood for large, and the U stood for this, and so they didn't mean it to be Lucifer. And they've changed it anyway now because there's such an uproar. You see, that shows they're sensitive. And this is a hall in the Vatican, and people say it's done purposely like a snake, which was Satan's favourite animal, isn't it? In Eden, he was a snake. The snake eyes here, and the head, shape of the head, and the scaled head. But no. This is just the architects messing around, surely. And there's inside 2 eyes and the scaled head and the fangs. And actually, look, this is beer. This is ridiculous, isn't it? Don't all these nuns notice this and think, hang on, this is the tongue, by the way. Oh, it's just beggar's belief. And this is some statue in the Vatican of Jesus Christ's resurrection after a nuclear holocaust. I don't think you can get more satanic than this, can you? Look at all these heads everywhere. And there's all these beasts. I think there's the three-headed Cerberus somewhere. You have to look carefully. These are jaws of Cerberus. It's just unbelievably grotesque. And if we go to a close-up on the head, his hair is kind of odd. It looks like a snake's head, like an evil snake. I mean, come on. And look at those hands. They're having a laugh. Of course, they have some sort of satanic ritual. They all dress as if they've been to a funeral, but no, there's no funeral going on. And of course, the black and white duality, and on the floor as well. Now, what you'll find in these videos about active-based reality is that somebody will say, well, the kings and queens, they've always ruled us and they rule us today. And, okay, well, they've got the idea that something's up and that our rulers are separate from us. But I have seen actually a very good site. The site provider, the YouTube channel, I mean, pinned it and then put, yeah, they control us all right. And I'm thinking, your video just showed that these royals are actors. So what on earth are you agreeing with this person? We have human rulers, all right, but we don't know what they look like. And we don't know their names. And Ed Carini does this as well. He talks a lot about the Greenberg family. And the Greenbergs, they're a family of actors, and they appear in all these different school shootings. And yeah, and that's good that people are analysing this and saying, oh, hang on, this guy's the same. This guy who's a victim here was a policeman in the other one, and he was a press reporter in the other one. Yeah, it's the same guy. But Carini talks about as if they have the power, and they are the ones deciding things, like these actors who divide it all up. And like, okay, well, I'll be the president of this. You go down and appear in that hoax shooting. You can be the prime minister of that country, and you can be the royal. No, they're actors. And we should start thinking now of the White House as an extension of Hollywood, a film set. I call it East Hollywood. Thank you for watching. See you next time.